Bondtech INDX has the ability to add lots of tools to existing printers for some very efficient multicolour or multi-material printing. I wonder how much it will cost to create fully spec'd versions of various INDX printers, and then how much will the cost work out per tool. INDX itself will work out about $250 for the extruder, and then an extra $35 per tool. But there will be some overheads on top of that, so I have for this comparison assumed a one-off overhead of $100 for things like cooling, extrusions and wiring, and then a $5 per tool overhead for things like hardware, PTFE tubes, spool holders, etc. The first printer on my list is the Construct 1XL, a duet-based printer, which should be able to fit 10 tools on. Price is around £3,500 or $4,600. Index cost for 10 tools about $750. Total cost for a 10-tool Construct 1XL about $5,400 or about $540 per tool. The next printer I would like to look at is the Voron Zero, which is a very interesting demo implementation of Index with 4 tools. Cost of the printer about £550 or $730. Index cost for 4 tools about $500. Total cost about $1,250. Cost per tool about $311. Next is the Prusa XL with 11 tools. Cost for base printer about £1,800 or $2,400. Index cost for 11 tools about $800. Total cost about $3,200 or about $290 per tool, which sounds expensive, but when you look at the 5-tool full tool changer version, which is about $5,200, that's $1,044 per tool, which is quite a lot more than the $290 per tool for 11 Index tools. Next is the Rattrig VCore 4. I have chosen the 400mm variant for this comparison. About £1,800 or $2,000 for the printer. Index cost for 12 tools about $830. Total cost about $2,900 or about $243 per tool. Next, Voron Trident 300, about £1,070 or $1,400. Index costs about $700 for 9 tools. Total about $2,150 or $238 per tool. Voron 2.4 350. One of the printers Bondtech have been doing a lot of their development on. Slightly more expensive than the Trident 300 at £1,100 or $1,500. One more tool, making 10 tools for $750. Cost per tool slightly lower at $226. Next up, the Prusa Core 1, a very promising option, which there have been a lot of rumours about. Either 7 or potentially 8 tools will fit. Base printer cost about $950. Cost for 7 tools about $630. but maybe more if purchased via Prusa. Total cost about $1,500. Similar price to Voron 2.4 per tool of $226. Should hopefully be fully supported by Prusa with all of the work like macros and profiles etc. done, and maybe even some Prusa slicer changes. Things are now starting to get interesting as the cost per tool starts to drop below $200. Next up is the very promising Snapmaker U1. The biggest issue of this product for me is the limit of 4 tools. This might be solvable by nozzle sharing, but adding 8 Index tools might actually be practical. The cost per tool would be about $190, which is actually slightly cheaper than the cost per tool of the standard 4-tool version at $212. Now for the Sovol Zero, printer cost about $400. 5 Index tools, more than doubling the cost to about $950 in total, but still less than $200 per tool. Next up is a very interesting option to me, the dual gantry Formbot Explorer. 12 tools should fit on each gantry, priced up for just one gantry of 12. Printer cost $1,400, Index cost $830, total $2,250 or $187 per tool. How about a massive 800 by 800 Orange Storm Giga? There should be room for 23 tools on there. Cost of printer about $2,800. Add about 23 tools at about $1,300. Total cost per tool a fairly reasonable $180. Slightly more practical could be a 600 by 600 Venture XL, 17 tools with a per tool cost similar to the Giga. A really fun project for all those X1Cs now made obsolete by the P2S. It could be Proper Printing's RepRap firmware or a similar BIQU Panda Clipper solution, with 8 index tools added. Getting even more interesting is the 500x500 Sovol SV08 Max, about $1,100 plus $900 for 14 index tools. Per tool, price now dropping down below $150. How about an amazingly cheap Centuri Carbon, with 8 tools costing close to double the original printer cost, but cost per tool down to about $134. The winner though is the SV08, with 10 tools, total cost about $1,300, and a very cheap cost per tool of about $130. I'm definitely adding INDX to my SV08, the whole table. A few other non-index options with different benefits and costs.